Good afternoon. Welcome back to the B&H Event Space. You are tuned into the Quest for Wedding Film Mastery Part 10. 10. That means we haven't scared Amber and Garrett off. That means 10 completely unhinged green room sessions. And to end it all with this series, Wanderlust Wisdom. Huge thank you to Sony, of course, for hosting this wonderful series. I'd like to welcome Amber and Garrett back. Guys, how's it going?
Thank you for having us. We are so excited to be here. Things are pretty great over here in Indiana.
Lit a little bit different
Lit
today.
a little bit. Of course, Garrett had to tell everybody. We have to explain why this one's different.
Well, normally I have like at least half a dozen lights, set up to do the theatrical cinematic look. But right off camera, we're in the middle of moving, so we have boxes on top of boxes on top of boxes. So we just opened the windows and do all natural light today because I have no room for light stands. And
Well, the good thing about that is it shows, you have to be versatile when you're a filmmaker. You have to be able to, to light something or to use natural light. You just never know where we're going to end up. So I guess
Right.
that's a good way to show like you can still look great, even if we opened up our windows and there's about 6 inches of snow outside. So
Yeah.
that's what we're using as our bounce today.
Yep.
Nice. I was
Yeah,
gonna say, if you guys didn't have all the collectible figures, I was gonna be like, who are these people? What are
I
they doing here?
know.
This isn't them.
I know. The light and airy who? Like
I
that's not us.
know.
That's not us, but we like the moody, dramatic, but So,
Shadows tell a better story.
Yeah,
right?
this is all part of the plan. You guys
Yeah,
planned it like this, especially for the last one. It's like, let's switch it up. Let's make this a teachable moment.
There
that's
we go.
you know
I'm
what?
with it.
Sometimes you have to pivot and pretend that that's what your plan was all
You
along.
gotta keep them on their toes.
And
I
then
get it.
you know what? And if we wouldn't have said that, and if I wouldn't have just said that, the client, like meaning the YouTube viewers or B&H or somebody would never have known. So a lot of the times with this, like maybe there is a big problem whenever you're at your wedding that you have traveled halfway across the country for. Don't tell your couple.
Right. Right.
Nobody needs to know
Well, I will let you guys get to the
on that
wanderlust
one.
and the wisdom. I'll disappear into the back and I'll remind all of our viewers if you guys do have any questions, the beautiful thing about tuning in live is you can ask them and get them answered. So I'll see you guys in a bit for the Q&A.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Derek.
Derek.
Again, we think and we are so appreciative to Sony and B&H for hosting this. It has been our dream. We have been filming weddings together for 20 years. It's been our dream since we started teaching to bring wedding filmmaking to a longer form, what are we calling this?
Just a longer form format, so
A
we can
longer
really
format.
elaborate on some of the finer idiosyncrasies of wedding filmmaking.
But not only that, there's just so much that goes into a full day's worth of work. You can't really talk about everything all at once
In a 1 hour
in
session.
a 1 hour session, or even in it. I mean, we filmed, we've done sessions of all different lengths, and it's very difficult. So we like that we've been able to dive into smaller, and really give you a lot of good nuggets for each thing that we've concentrated on. And I hope that everybody appreciates what we've been able to do and has learned a lot.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Um, while let me see here. So we live in southern Indiana, and a lot of our weddings,
I would say most of them we have to travel minimum 2 hours.
right.
Yeah.
So when we first started our business, it's basically your radius just starts in your little pinpoint and grows. At least that's what you want it to do, right? So whenever you live and you choose to live in a place like southern Indiana, we kind of had to travel a lot to start with, no matter what. So we got really good at traveling. But one thing that threw us for a loop was whenever we started flying, because neither one of us flew a lot before. So we just really didn't know what we were getting into. So we made a lot of mistakes along the way, had to purchase luggage at destinations before, so had to have things shipped, had to borrow things. So you just have to be prepared for so many other obstacles whenever you're traveling.
And it adds a whole nother level of, I don't want to say problems, but it's just a whole nother level
I will say problem.
a layer, let's say layer. It's a whole nother layer to the filmmaking experience and traveling with your gear. Like everything else, Amber and I learned the hard way. So we learned what not to do and what to do, and some little tips that we'll share with you today to make your life easier when you travel.
Hopefully, that's what we're here to do. As you hopefully remember, I'm Amber. I'm a filmmaker, producer, educator. I'm a cancer survivor, and also an extrovert, if you couldn't tell.
I'm a filmmaker, editor, educator, photographer, introvert, and Amber survivor.
Amber survivor.
I survived you 20 years. We survived each other for 20 years.
That is true. Okay. So I love this
What is it?
quote
What is-
about travel. What? What is what?
What did he say to Anakin? You're going to be the death of me.
He sure did. Why can't it's like the I can never find my mouse. It gets me every time. There we go. It's a dangerous business, Frodo. Going out your door, you step onto the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's no knowing where you may be swept off to.
I love that.
Good one, right? I like to be swept off occasionally. It just depends on where we're going. There could be a pro and a con to that. All right, so
Well, I swept you off your feet.
I suppose you did. Hold on a second.
There's
There
an
we go.
overlay on Zoom that has a bunch of like images from us, and so we're
There we
trying to navigate that and get it.
There we
in-
go.
there we
May you enter in.
Oh, okay. So this one is not a beach wedding, but this is technically a destination wedding for us. So I'm gonna
It's one of the most
introduce this.
beautiful destinations, literally. Even though it's not halfway across the world, it's one of the most beautiful destinations we've ever shot at.
Yeah, it's called it's a beautiful venue it's called West Baden. And the super cool part about this is the couple owns an amusement park. And so it's called Holiday World here in Indiana. And so they this horse you see on the screen right now is from the carousel at their amusement park. So they had their people bring it to the venue, which was really stinking cool. So
Yeah.
we really got some cool stuff with this couple. So this is this is a fantastic one. So here we go.
May you enter into the mystery that is the awareness of one another's presence. May you have happiness, and may you find it in making one another happy. May you always need one another, but not out of weakness. May you want one another, but not out of lack. May you entice one another, but not compel one another. May you embrace one another, but not encircle one another. May you succeed in all important ways with one another and not fail in the little graces. May you look for things to praise, often say I love you, and take no notice of small faults. May your marriage bring you all the exquisite excitements a marriage should bring. May you have love, and may you find it in loving one another.
That's a good one. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good.
I didn't watch it all the way through
It's been a minute.
because it's been a little bit, and I was just like, oh, I kind of want to relive it. One thing you'll notice, maybe if you remember any of our other films that we've shown on this, the music is definitely a lot different. It has more of an orchestral feel. I wrote down it feels grand, and so that's what we're talking about whenever we say match the wedding, match the couple's vibe to your film, right?
Right.
So
Because like a funky hip hop beat, yeah, I can make it work, but it wouldn't have matched.
It wouldn't have
Or
matched.
you know, the latest country love song wouldn't have matched. But the grand nature of the venue was just spectacular. So I really wanted to match that, not only with the visuals matching the music, but also the music matching the spoken word.
Mhm.
It's very, very epic and grand and meaningful.
That was beautiful. Also, was there a dolly zoom for the first look?
I think so. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so that's a very Alfred Hitchcock, like the dolly zoom. That's pretty cool. Use dolly zoom during the first look. That's pretty cool. So it is, we have heard it so many times. It must be nice to show up for work. And we just say, like, we have this look of confusion.
Yeah.
Because you're like, yeah, but it's also so stinking stressful. And so it's like,
It's cool like the first two or three, and then once you start traveling a lot, you just realize, and sometimes depending on where it is, of course, you have to factor that into your price.
exactly.
But it is a lot more work, especially if you're shooting at a venue where you don't know the coordinator at the venue, you don't know the DJ, the photographer. It's a lot of extra stress and work. And then you put on top of that traveling with all your gear and trying to get that through the airport and trying not to have it in the checked luggage underneath the plane, trying to keep it with you.
These are all things that we've had to deal with, and these are all the things that, keep us up at night the night before we travel. I don't think we ever sleep the night before we fly for work. So it's just a lot of working parts that you have to, again, like, we learned it all the hard way, so hopefully we can give you some tips and tricks, but a lot of it is just learning in the field, unfortunately. So we've talked about it before, but as wedding filmmakers, we need to be prepared for a lot of different things. And there are a lot of times when I will say the old lady thing, I've just seen it all now. And the weddings are like, I have seen it all at weddings. And so, like, if you come to it like that and think, well, I'm pretty much prepared for anything, you know what?
It's like, why would you say that? And then as soon as you say like, well, I've seen it all, the very next wedding, you see something like, oh, okay, I guess I haven't seen it
Oh
all.
gosh. So it can look very glamorous, and there are, because we put our highlights on social media. So, oh, you see pictures like this. Oh, we're working from here today, today's office, but all the other stuff that happened before this or after it just kind of get lost in the background. So the perception versus reality of filming.
That last picture was of us at a destination wedding, right?
Yes.
Where was that at?
That is in Mexico. I think that was
Oh.
at no, that was at Cabo. That
Okay.
was for the Cabo wedding. Yeah.
I hate sand. It gets everywhere.
It's rough and coarse.
It's rough and coarse. And to all you nerds out there, yes, I'm quoting Anakin Skywalker.
Okay. So
But I really do hate sand.
it is really
Beach
awful.
weddings are rough on your
Yes.
gear, on your feet, all of it. Your audio especially.
So you have to have this balance of passion and resilience to be crazy enough to film weddings destination as well.
Well, weddings just
Well,
by
that is
themselves. It takes a special kind of crazy to do to want to do weddings. To especially film weddings, not just photograph. I mean, photograph, yes, but filming weddings with all the
That's true.
ancillary equipment you have to have. Oh my goodness.
So if you've made it to episode 10 and you want to be even crazier, start doing destination weddings. So it's a lot about planning, of course. Most of it is planning and preparation, which a lot of wedding work is planning and preparation, so this shouldn't be any different, but it is more.
Well, like what you just said about we don't sleep the night before, a lot of what keeps me up at night the night before is like when we shoot a wedding that's semi-locally, if you forget your memory cards, well, first of all, you shouldn't have, but you can drive home and get them. It's no
Shouldn't
big
have,
deal.
but we have done it
Yeah,
before.
we've done
Come
it.
on.
If you forget a tripod, oh, it's at home. I'm gonna drive across the town and grab it. When you're doing a destination wedding, if you forgot something, you're just out of luck.
Yeah.
So I lay at night and just do mental checklist over. Did I forget this? Did I forget that? Did I get that? And basically, if there is any air pockets in my case, that means I forgot something. My case is completely like perfectly Lego bricks put together, and there is no empty space. So yeah, I probably take more than I should. Well, I know I do, but I don't want to forget anything.
So you do have to be mindful, like if you are going out of country, some countries do not allow you to have a specific amount of cameras, or you can only have like 1 or 2 cameras per person. So you do have to, like, that's part of the planning and preparation. So before you even say yes to that wedding, take a look at the country that you're going to's rules and also the airline rules. So you need to be very, very, very familiar with the country you're going to if you're going out of country, or airline rules. So
I think the last time we went, it was 2 professional cameras per person.
yeah,
So if you're traveling alone, it's kind of rough, but between the 2 of us,
yeah.
like we normally I think bring 6 cameras. So
We did leave stuff at home,
We-
and
we
like
did that
that's
time,
the
yeah.
that's the thing too. So for us, we live centrally located in Indiana, which means like we can drive 10 hours in any direction and pretty much be in a different part of the country. And so we do drive a lot instead of fly, and you have to weigh the pros and cons of that. Like in the Midwest, we just drive. I mean, it's normal for us to drive a couple hours to film a wedding no matter what. So a 10-hour drive, a sleepover, and then back is not terrible, and that's something that we do just to get around, like sacrificing gear, like having to leave your
Right.
lighting kit here, or something that you really like, your slider may not make it, things like that. So you have to be judicial about what you pack and how you pack it, and
a rule of thumb sorry, go ahead.
because of the weight limitations and restrictions.
And a rule of thumb we always have is like if it's 10 hours or less of a drive, we usually drive to the wedding just because it's more comfortable than flying, first of all, and then we can bring, all of the equipment that we need and not have to worry about, losing it on a plane trip.
Right. So like we just recently, our last trip was to Texas, and we flew, of course, but like Garrett drove to Oklahoma this year. So, and we filmed the wedding in Oklahoma City before that we drove to as well. So these are normal things for us. We've driven to Virginia, we've driven to Destin, Florida, so it's like we just drive. But so that's something, that you have to weigh the pros and cons over, like, okay, getting there. And then what is the restriction? So you have to think about like how you pack your gear. Okay, so let's talk about our gear. So we pack all of our gear in the airport security.
Mhm.
And so that is from Think Tank. And I think did we get that one from B&H? We may have.
Yeah,
I think we did.
Think Tank. They're not a sponsor, and we bought that one. God, that one has been everywhere. That one has
Yes.
been to Paris, London, all over the country. And it's
Mexico.
I
all
want.
over.
There's a new version that I want, but our old version beat up, yes, but it still works perfect. And I'm just not. I'm not too keen on buying a new one if the old one still works. So, but one thing that's good about it is that it's carry-on size. So sometimes the attendants may give you a little fuss if you like this bag is exactly how as big as it can possibly be to be considered a carry-on, and there are some gate attendants who look
like
at
the
it
region, like the puddle jumpers.
and
Yeah.
the regional flights, the plane's a little smaller, it'll definitely still
It
fit.
still fits.
And sometimes I do have to argue my case and say like, I literally argue my case. That's
You sure fit.
unintended pun, but and say like I know you probably hear this a lot, but I fly with this all the time. It fits. Please, can I at least try? And so if you approach it from that way, instead of being argumentative and saying, I know it fits, I'm taking it. I've asked them like, hey, I've
Just try.
can I at least try? And usually they're like, oh, okay.
And you say it nicely, hey, can I at least try? And
Yeah.
not like, so much, it can get you so far if you're nice. Like,
Treat them
and
like a human.
how many
Nice.
times have you seen somebody like berating a flight attendant? That's not gonna get you anywhere.
Right.
But, and then so Think Tank, at the time we purchased that one, they had like the airport security was for, domestic, and then they had one that was international, that was a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And then they also have a wide range of backpacks. We choose this because this is what works for us. But I mean, gosh, if you want to schlep with a backpack on your back everywhere, that's just not what we want to do because we're getting old.
And then with that, we have another
Right.
Think Tank case for our tripods. It's basically the just like that. It's a rolling case, but it's very long, so it's not a carry-on. But all of our tripods, slider, a bunch of course we don't put any batteries in it because it's a checked bag, so you don't want to give them anything to check that has any of your lithium ion battery, which a lot of times is a good argument when I'm taking on my carry-on. Like, look, I have a lot of lithium ion batteries in here that I can't
Or a
check.
drone. Like a lot of the times you'll have a drone with you,
Right.
which also make sure you check legalities of that as well. Like Mexico, Garrett flew the drone. You flew a drone in that dome.
With permission.
Did y'all see that in that film? He threw the drone in the dome a couple times. That's not the first time he's flown it in there too.
No.
That's the good
And
thing.
it gave me a magnificent jib shot that I never could have gotten any other way. I was scared to death while I was doing it, to be honest. I was like,
Yeah.
like I've never crashed it inside, but please don't let this be the first.
So if you don't have the funds to buy one of those hard-sided tripod cases like we have,
No, ours isn't even hard. Ours is a soft case, but it has like some kind of a.
it is a soft case.
It is
isn't
a soft case, but it's not hard, but it's not soft. But it's substantial.
It's structured. Okay. So if you don't have the money to buy one like that, because at sometimes
Should I go get it?
we have, I mean, you probably should, and I
Okay.
will talk about the other part. I will talk about how we used to pack our tripods real
Okay.
quick. Okay. I don't know why I didn't think of that. So if you don't have the money for something like this, in the past we've had our tripod bag that we just carried that didn't have wheels or anything. It was a canvas tripod bag. And so what I would do is I would pack that canvas bag inside of our normal suitcase with our clothing in it. And then I would pack our tripods and clothing all around each other. So these are things that don't have batteries and things like that. I would pack them. I would try to pack as much as I could with our clothing and stuff. And so we've had to have monopods with our clothes and tripods and things like that. I forgot it was right there
I'm just gonna
too.
put it up on the desk.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Maybe.
Here.
This is our tripod bag for travel.
Yes. And so then actually the last time you traveled, I think you put some of your clothes in there, didn't you? Okay. So everything just fits very nicely in there. And you still have to worry about weight though. They don't want it super heavy still,
I think
right?
you have to keep it under
70 or
I
100?
thought it was 100. If you're media, you have to keep it under 100.
Okay.
I
So
think.
that was the
Depending on
next.
It depends on the airline.
Okay, so you need to say that into the microphone.
So depending on the airline, the weight restrictions are, well, they're higher. You're allowed to take more if you were, I think we're going to talk about this here in a minute.
Yeah.
If you were designated as traveling media. So you're able to have, instead of a 50-pound bag, you can have, let's say, a 100-pound bag.
Right. So we went, and you'll hear a lot of filmmakers do it. Garrette made media badges for us. They look really nice. They say they have our picture on it. They say our names. They have our website on it. They even have a QR code on the back. Like he made them try to.
There's a holographic image on the front, so it looks super, super professional.
And so it looks fantastic, and I don't think you've ever been questioned about it at all, have you? So they're just like, okay, media, yeah, fine, and so they'll do like.
What that does for you is it allows you to bring these, like some of these, like that case. The last time we had a shoot in Texas, and I think that case would have been $200 to travel with. but because I had a media badge, I think it was like $50.
Yeah, I think it's just the normal like price
Yeah.
of a piece of luggage.
Mhm.
And then some places like I think that Southwest then won't charge you even if you go over like weight if you have a
Yeah, I
media
think
badge.
Southwest is much more
Yeah.
lenient on that.
Yeah, but then they won't charge you if you go over weight if you have a media badge, which is very easy to do if you have 3 tripods or 4 tripods and 2 monopods and a slider. So like we have the remote controlled slider, so then the head of it has to go in one of our bags
Right, because
that
it
we
has
carry
a
onto the plane.
lithium battery in it.
Yeah, so these are the types of things you have to remember too. Like, oh, what about so like your gimbal, you usually put we carry the gimbal on because of the batteries?
The battery on the gimbal comes out.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I may pack the gimbal in that case and then just take the battery out and put it in my carry-on.
Right. So you can think logistically like that. So you're not, you don't have all of that weight on your back. But these are ways that have helped us manage costs too. Because I think our very first destination wedding, and many people will do this. I mean, you kind of have to. I say, like, we did it for cost. You pay us to go,
We're just
we'll do
thrilled to
it.
go, yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of how you have to come do, I think, a lot of things in the wedding world. You do it the first time for free or at cost, and then you figure out if you can do it or not. So
Well, when you say it costs, we didn't break even. Like we charged our normal price plus.
no, we did not.
Did we not really? We didn't
No.
charge them for traveling? Where was it to?
It was to Florida. We went to
Okay.
Naples.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
So it was just like I remember it so vividly. We went to Naples.
Yes, because we were bored out of our minds in Naples.
It was kind of it's a retirement community.
I remember
But
now.
these are things that you need to talk about up front with your couple, to managing cost. Who is going to take care of things? Are you going to do it? Are they going to book you a car? Are you going to book yourself a car? And who's going to take care of that? Are you going to put it all like on an invoice at the end and like they want to see your travel line items, or are they like, well, I'll just give you a flat fee and that should take care of it? Like these are all
Right.
different ways you can do it.
We've never been asked for like receipts and line items. Usually
No.
we literally just charge them like when we do a destination wedding, there's a little bit of an extra, let's say, tax that goes on it because we know it's a lot more work. But when it comes to
It's the pain in the butt tax,
Yeah.
right? So
Feed
I
'em.
mean, well, some people will charge lots more for a destination
Right,
wedding.
and
It
I
just
think
is
those are
on-
people who like we don't specialize in destination weddings. We
Mm-mm.
love doing them and we take them when we can, but it's not like some people are known for doing destination weddings, and that's really not what we do. But when we charge them for the cost of like the rental car or the plane tickets, whatever, we don't pad that at all. We just charge them what it costs us to get there, and then whatever the normal price is of our wedding films.
Right. I do like to make sure that we are staying in the same hotel as the couple or the
Yes.
bridal party or
That's
the
a
party.
Great tip.
Yes, so that's the key, is making sure you're staying at the same place where all the action is happening, because
The
like
Hero Hotel.
the Hero Hotel.
Because you don't, it'll make your life so much less stressful if you have in the back of your mind, if you know that you have a room there, and if you get sick or just want to take a break or recharge batteries, whatever happens, you can just run up to your room and just decompress for a second. If you have that time of the day to do so, it just takes it adds a little bit of peace into your life. So definitely, if they're booking the hotel, whether anywhere, just make sure and tell them, like, look, we need to stay in the same hotel as wherever the bride and groom is getting ready.
I believe that my wedding plan, Monica, she puts it in her contract as must be the same as the host hotel.
Host hotel.
Host
Yeah.
hotel is the terminology. So you want to make sure that you're staying in the same place. Not only is it just, I mean, it's logistically easier to get up and, like I'm trying to remember, like the Mexico wedding, you get up, have breakfast, and then you can just meet the couple where where they're getting ready, and you don't have to travel and drive, especially if you're out of country.
So real quick, I'm gonna take for all you nerds out there. If you ever watched the Marvel show Daredevil, not the movie, but the show, there is a scene where the Kingpin and one of the other crime syndicate people are having a meeting on the rooftop. And it's in the middle of New York. It's this roof on top overlooking New York. The picture on the screen right now is from the exact same location. So this couple rented that rooftop overlooking New York.
Is it 640 or 620 Lofton Garden?
I
It
don't
it
remember.
overlooks Rockefeller Center.
But it
It's
was beautiful. We
magical.
did a drone shot up there. It's been a minute, but back when you were okay to do drone shots in New York City. You can't do it now, I don't think, but at least not the way we did it. But it was for you nerds out there, that was a great location for a wedding.
There's a lot of I think there's a lot of movies and stuff filmed up there because it's so cool, that church
And
in the
it has that
background.
Gothic church in the background.
Gosh, it's fantastic. So this is one of the things that you're thinking of when you're, let's say, managing cost. But one of the things is the couple also is, paying you lots and lots of money. So a lot of the times you will need to turn around the film that you produced there, turn it around quickly for a reception that may be back home or something like that.
Oh, that's what theirs was. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what theirs was. So this Sarah and Greggy's wedding was, they eloped, them two and their daughter eloped to New York City. They got married on the roof there, and then we did a whole bunch of really fun stuff, walked around. We actually got in a helicopter, and I filmed them in the helicopter, and because he wanted it to look like a really cool New York experience, and so that's what we did. We made it a really cool New York experience for them.
And then
so,
I worked on the highlight on the way home in the plane.
Mhm.
So I think the next weekend, they had a reception back here in Indiana, and they showed that film. So I had to have that done quick.
Yeah, so those are the things that you have to think of whenever you're thinking about managing costs and things like that, because the couple may have you turn it around quickly, or maybe they want you to film both things like we did. We filmed their reception that was back home. We filmed for Mexico. We did the same thing. I was trying to think of that one. Yeah, so like for several of them, we have done that, so um, those are different ways that you can make a little bit more money too, like on the back ends, like, you know,
Having that quick turnaround. Yeah.
yeah, having the quick turnaround, and then, saying, well, I can film that too, we can film that too. Those are your friends and family. You want to, so you just make sure you get,
Because they still had the first dance, they still had cake cutting, still had a party, and that's something that if you're pitching the sale to them, like that's there's going to be a lot of people there that you may not see for a long time or ever again. Sometimes it's just depending on who all is there. So yeah, it's a good sales pitch to be like, we can shoot your reception too. And since you're having us fly to New York, we'll actually cut you a break.
you did do that.
Yeah.
Some people don't like to do that though, but I mean, like, we never mind
It just helps with the sales
yeah.
for us at least.
Yeah. Okay, so one tip we need to talk about, as far as traveling with gear, it was gonna be,
Well,
I just,
this episode that you're watching now, go back and watch the episode about prepping gear and getting gear ready, and we talk a lot about having a very small footprint, and that makes your traveling so much easier. So you don't have 2 or 3 Pelican cases, and of course, most of the time you can't check those on unless they're the really small ones.
right,
But it really helps you manage your gear, so you're not constantly counting all the cases you have. You have one case full of cameras and lenses and recording equipment, and my job is to hang on that with a death grip and make sure it makes it and never leaves my side.
exactly. So one thing that you need to make sure you do is have everything you need to film something on your person.
Right.
Okay, so you don't want to have your battery chargers checked. You don't
Right.
want to have anything that you will need to film checked under the plane. Okay, except for tripod or whatever. And actually, sometimes we carry a monopod on plane with us. But everything you need to film, what you're going to film, needs to be on the plane with you.
Ask us how we know.
So battery chargers, even double A's, triple A's, those are, but like all of your audio equipment, all of that stuff needs to be, again, like Garrett said, death grip. You never, ever, ever let it go.
Right. So yeah, memory cards. One of a long time ago, we did one in New York, And I thought, it'll probably be easier if I just ship all of our tripods and light stands.
This was gonna be one of my next things.
Okay, you want to take it over?
No, I
Okay.
I love this. So we thought this is a bigger project. We need more.
It was a corporate gig.
Yeah. So go ahead.
And so I found a perfect case. It was a hard case that was made for, I don't know, for golf clubs or something. And so I put all our tripod stands in, tripod, light stands. I think I had my slider rails in there, and I shipped it UPS. And then UPS lost it. So we show up and in New York, and it was the weekend where nothing was open. There wasn't a place to buy new light stands. Everything was closed for the weekend. And so UPS found the package and then they just shipped it back to my house. So that didn't do me any good at all. Luckily, we were able to reach out to our filmmaking community, and we were able to borrow some gear to have. It wasn't ideal, but we made it work. And of course, we didn't tell our clients that. But yeah, so having it with you. In fact, now, are you going to talk about the AirTags later?
Oh, now is
Okay,
a fantastic
so-
time to do that. Great segue.
Well, we think, was it last year, the year before, we started using AirTags. So we have one in each case, to make sure that especially the checked case, so we know that it's on the plane with us, or if they lose it, we can tell them where it's at.
Your
Luckily,
camera bag, you have it on
camera bag,
everything.
knock on wood, I've never had to utilize that feature, but it's a nice peace of mind knowing that, hey, all of my gear is on the plane with me. I check the air tags before we leave, and yep, it's all there, so we're good to go. So that's a really nice way to keep track of if you do have multiple bags. It's a nice way to make sure you know where they're at.
Mhm. Right. That one year, that time we shipped that stuff, man, that was a nightmare. Because so that was one where we had to borrow somebody else's gear. And that is not fun.
No, and because their
Because
gear,
it's not as good.
it was entry level gear. I was happy to have it. I made it work, but I was under my breath. I was like, "No, no, 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 no. This is entry level, like just really lightweight light stands, and the lights that I was accustomed to using wouldn't work on. Anyways, it was just
But these are the types of things when I want to make sure that they know that you
Yeah.
still can utilize stuff like that and make a good film that our client. So in this case, our client did know, I think,
did they? Okay.
because it was supposed to ship to their building.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And so they're like, it didn't get here. And so,
we
they ended up
we kept calling them like, hey, is it package here yet?
Yeah.
Package here yet?
Yeah. So anyway, but they didn't, like, it didn't harm the final product. Yes. Would the lighting have been different? Yes. Would it have been better? Maybe. Would they have noticed? Probably not. So we had to work a little bit harder in different ways to make it work. And so that's one of the things I want to tell you. Like, if you don't think you have the best gear, a lot of the times, unfortunately, you just have to work harder to get the better shots, like to get the beautiful, the cinematic, the whatever you want to call it. If you don't have the best gear, unfortunately, you just work harder.
Yep.
You work harder than the people that have that. So, like, I remember setting up the lighting. You were so frustrated that the light wasn't, like, you're like, it's spilling everywhere.
Yeah, I didn't have good control of the flags.
I don't think they had flags, or they weren't very good. I don't know.
The
It was just
the
a
light stands weren't
mess.
very tall, so I couldn't get the height I needed for like the rim shot,
But
rim light.
right,
Yeah.
but even, like, we were in the same city as B&H, like, either it was a holiday or it was a weekend or something where they were closed. I think it was a holiday maybe. So, like, those are the types of things you may think, well, there's a camera store there, but
They
you
might be
never,
closed.
they might be closed, or you never know what's going to happen. So really, what we try to do is, like, take care of ourselves, make sure we are totally covered from beginning to end, no matter, without having to rely on anything else
Right.
for our job.
Right. Like for instance, when I'm micing the groom up for the ceremony, the sound engineer of the building, I'd be like, hey, we got mics on them. Don't worry about it. You can just patch into my board. Like, I'm sure your stuff works great, but I know that my lavalier mic recorder in his pocket, I know that'll work. So I may patch into the board, and but I'm definitely also going to put my lav on them, because I know from experience that works. I don't know you. I've never worked with you before. It may be perfect, but I would just rather know in my heart of hearts that my gear is on them and working. So that's, you got to take care of yourself.
Right. Exactly. And so then I did want to talk about let's see. Now that you have the footage, we are going to let me see what else is left here. Okay, so the most valuable thing then on your way home is the footage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about how we travel then with our gold,
Right.
which is our footage?
So typically, we travel with, of course, we're together, and then we travel with a laptop. So what I'll typically do is I'll come back after the wedding, maybe not that night because I'm shot, but at least by the next morning. No, I think I start dumping that or offloading that night. So I'll start offloading that night onto uh, external hard drives. If in a perfect world, I like to put a copy of everything we've shot on the laptop and then on an external drive. So then I have three copies. I have the original memory cards, and then I have a external hard drive, and then I also have the laptop. Then when we're traveling, one of us, like I'll usually give the external hard drive to Amber, and she'll put it in her purse, and then I will put the memory card case in my pocket, and then I'll have the laptop in my camera bag on my bag. So I have three copies in three different locations because even if I put all of my memory cards and my laptop in the camera case, what if somebody steals my camera case? Even though it's with me, you've heard of horror stories where people getting off the plane grab the wrong bag and you're like, oh, where's my bag at? So having three different copies, it's a no-brainer. You have to, what do they say? You got to back it up to get it back. So if I lose somebody steals my camera case and then the memory card falls out of my pocket in a seat and I leave it behind and lose it, then I know I still have Amber's copy, or vice versa. Amber gets her purse stolen. Well, I still have a copy in my pocket. There's you're covered yourself, so that you make it home with all that footage, because that's exactly what it is. It's gold. And if you lose that, not only do you have a very, very uncomfortable conversation with your client, but you also have to write a big check to give them a refund, and they might even sue you because they can't get those memories back.
That has
So
never happened to us. And
never happened to
that just
us.
makes me want to.
Yeah, I get sick to my stomach thinking about that. But so yeah, when you're coming home, if it's just yourself, then have your card case full of memory cards in your pocket on your person, and then put your other backup. And even if you have it backed up on a laptop, go ahead and put it on an external drive. Because what if you drop somebody drops your case, maybe the TSA worker is checking your laptop and drops it and it ruins the hard drive in it. Well, then what do you do? Well, then you have a backup on an external hard drive. So I know I'm very, 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 very paranoid when it comes to keeping track of my footage and making sure it gets home. I wish I could just upload it to the cloud from the hotel, but even with today's technology at the hotel, they don't have the bandwidth to upload a terabyte of footage even overnight to my local server here at home. So as far as it stands now, we have three copies, three hard copies, and it's worked very well for us.
Yeah. And I mean, there are many storage solutions that you can find online, of course, that where it'll just like you just stick the card in and it dumps it straight to this hard drive, and you don't
Right.
have to worry about a laptop. Well, if that's the case, then bring two external hard drives, because I mean, it is the 3-2-1 backup. Like that's the system that's been drilled into my skull because Garrett used to watch a tech podcast. 3-2-1 backup. Like you have to have three different forms, three different backups to even
So
pretend like you have
expand on that. What's the 2-1?
three different types of, or three different copies, two different types of um, formats. Okay, so like you have one on your memory card and then one on a hard drive.
Hard drive.
So those are two different formats, and then one offsite. So the offsite would technically be the one you give to me.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so that's 3, 2, 1 backup.
I guess if we wanted to really, this is terrible, this is dark, we should book separate flights in case one of our flights go down.
Right?
That way you'll still make it, one of us still makes it home with the footage.
It ain't getting edited. Jeez. Way to take it dark. It's fine.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, was there anything else that you want to talk about traveling? I mean, I feel like we'll probably, oh yeah, I remember that. But
Um, when you're doing destination beach weddings, audio is a big deal. So you need to make sure that you have. I'm sure you all know you've heard them called dead cats. Those big fluffy things. They all that go on your shotgun mics. Well, they also make those for your lavalier mics. So of course they don't look as great, but if you're on the beach, it's really going to help cut down on the. I've never been to a beach wedding where there hasn't been crazy amounts of wind. Everyone I've ever been to has always had a lot of wind, and so we try to put a mic on the minister, at minimum on the minister and on the groom, and then if
or at least one person, yeah. Yeah.
I want at least
Two people. Yeah.
I would love to have three. Sometimes the bride's not too keen on wearing a mic or being, wearing the mic on her leg or on the back of her bra or whatever. But I like to have at least two, if not three, because what that's going to do is the minister's facing one direction, the groom's facing the other. So the wind is one of those is going to be less windy than the other. And if you have three, that's even better. But yeah, they're the little fluffy things. They look like little
They're
fur
called road
balls.
undercoat and undercover and overcover, I think is
Yeah,
what they're
I think
called.
yeah, that's right.
Road has them. You can get them at B&H. I'm sure that's where we
That's just
purchased
where we
ours.
got mine. Yeah,
Yep.
and that'll cut down on the wind tremendously.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I think that might be it. Okay, so honestly, like I just researched the heck out of so much. And I don't know if that's just my personality, possibly part of it, but location scouting is huge whenever you're going to places that you're not familiar with. And um just
Yeah, the more information you
familiarizing
have. Sorry.
yourself with the area before you get there is going to really help you um, lead a successful shoot when you get there. Go ahead.
The more information you have, the better you will set yourself up for success. So if you just show up like a normal wedding, like if you pretend like, well, not pretend, but if I just showed up and just ran with it and didn't really have any preparation, you might do a great job. I mean, I'm sure I could do a great job, but you're going to not do as a great job because maybe there is a magnificent waterfall right next to the venue, or maybe that's there, or something just insanely beautiful that you didn't know about until after you leave, and you're like, oh, that would have been a great shot if only I would have known about that. Well, if you do your research and you go on to the website of the venue, even I've used Google Maps before.
That's what I was going to say. So
Yeah.
Garrett has actually used Google Maps to plan out flight paths for drones, things like that. So Google Maps is your friend. You can get to know like where some of the cool places around there are to photograph or to film without even being there, and to get yourself at least started.
Right.
Also, researching cultural or regional traditions, they may impact your approach. So, if there are customs that you need to be aware of, you need to make sure you know everything there is to know about it. You don't depend on your client to tell you, you need to do the research yourself.
Right.
So, I think this is it wasn't a wedding, but we were in Puerto Vallarta for a conference we were speaking at, and we didn't do our research, and there was a raccoon cafe that we missed.
I cannot believe it.
I'm really mad
we-
about that. I think I walked by it going to a beach one day and didn't even know it was there.
So it was a cafe where you hang out and with raccoons skirting around.
And you get to feed them and stuff. So, I mean, just do your research and you won't miss the raccoon cafe. Like, that's really one of my, that really made me bummed out about that. So, another thing to think about is like, making sure that you're not, I don't want to say breaking rules, but like you're not being disrespectful to the native culture. Okay, so there's a difference between bending and breaking rules and being disrespectful to culture. So don't cross that line. Is what
Yep.
I'm trying to say nicely. Just don't cross that line. Okay, just don't be that
Be
person.
kind, be a human, and be respectful of where you're at, the location, and the traditions of where you're at.
Right. Another thing you need to keep in mind is weather unpredictability. So when we went to Mexico for one of our weddings, it had rained the week before.
Storms, like hardcore.
Stormed
Yeah.
the week before. But that wasn't the problem for us. The problem was the humidity that brought in.
Yeah.
And so then we had to actually communicate with our couple and tell them anytime we go from indoor to outdoor, it takes us 15 to 20 minutes for our camera to defog. So those were the types of things that we had to know because of the heat and the humidity.
I think at one point we didn't have that amount of time to let the cameras, and so
To let them
ac-
what's it called? Like
acclimate.
acclimate, yeah.
To the humidity. So we would leave. I think we had 5 cameras with us at that point. So I would, if we were inside shooting her doing the last moments of her makeup, and then the first look is next, we would leave a couple cameras in our bag out in the environment, someplace safe, so that when we would go outside, they obviously couldn't wait on us for 20 minutes. So we would just put our cold cameras down that have been in the air conditioning all day, and then we grabbed another 2 cameras to throw on there, so we were ready to go immediately.
Uh, Technical challenges like sand. There are things like that you don't want to get sand in your lens or on your housing of your camera.
You don't want to be sitting your lenses down on the sand. That's
Don't sit your lens down. We try not to even change our lenses on the beach. Don't even
Especially when it's
change
windy, yeah.
lenses on a windy beach. Just
Just takes one little speck of sand on your sensor, and you think you're doing great. You don't see it, and you get home, and there's this big spot that you have to figure out how to fix.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't even like changing my lenses out on the beach.
Right. And then, okay, well, we already talked about that. I guess I skipped ahead a little bit. So a lot of the times whenever we have traveled, I see it as traveling makes me a better person, right? So those are the types of things that I want to really try to find whenever we are out and about. We're expanding our worldview, but not only that, we're building confidence as filmmakers and as people. We're seeing more, we're experiencing more, we're exploring more. And the more we learn about the other's differences, the better I think the world is, right? So
Yeah, the worldview really expands how, not to get all therapist on it, but it really expands your worldview and how you look at other cultures and how you feel. When you're when you're celebrating with a different culture, and you're seeing how like the South Asia and Indian people celebrate, it's so rewarding to have that experience with, like, nothing really to do with even weddings, but just to have that experience as part of who you are, and something that you can reflect on.
one thing that I think has been really, I think it's helped us to be more open-minded is that we get to spend the best day of those person's lives with them. But not only that, we get to see all of their friends and family from a million different cultures come together and have so much fun. I remember, so like Garrett and I, we have these, you get the chills sometimes at a wedding. Did you get the chills watching your own video earlier, Garrett?
I did.
Okay, so one of the times I remember very strongly, like having that really like that cool feeling of almost welling up was it was the bride is Jewish and the groom is Hispanic, and watching his family like take part in the hora and like all of the like. Oh my gosh, I got chills remembering it because it was like they had never seen anything like a hora before. And so they like his family was from Texas, like very much had never probably been to a Jewish wedding before. And so it was just so cool. And so then like after the hora was done, like they basically switched and showed them a dance from their culture. And so it's so cool to see everybody like coming together and celebrating love and joy. Like that's what it is. They're celebrating love and joy. And it just like,
It's a bonding experience.
it's
Because
a
at that
bonding.
same wedding, for the right after the ceremony, they had a cocktail hour, and during the cocktail hour, they had a like a 4-piece mariachi band.
I think
So
it's maybe at like 7. I feel
really,
like there were a lot, 'cause
yeah.
it was a very hot day, so I'm struggling to remember a lot of that.
So it was also the same way interesting to see, all the Jewish family probably have never seen that live, and it was really cool to watch them enjoy somebody else's culture.
Yeah.
It was just a really like we can all coexist. We can do this, you know?
It's not that hard. It gives me a little hope for the future, but I think that's what has, I mean, 2 kids from Southern Indiana, it is easy for us to get boxed in with our viewpoints and ways of thinking. And so I do think that weddings and traveling for weddings has helped us expand exponentially as people, and being open-minded and seeing the world as it is. And um, the one thing though, I think that it helps us to be adaptable too. Like all of this traveling with weddings, you have to be adaptable.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, because it doesn't go always, never. Well, sometimes it does. It doesn't always go as smooth as you would like.
It's like you can't ever, like, the always never thing. It's like you try not to say always never, but it never goes the way it should.
It's always something. That's why you got to be
Always
a
something.
special kind of crazy to want to do weddings. But then
Always something.
you get used to it, and you're like those special forces guys. Whatever it gets thrown at you, you can deal with. You can handle,
Yeah.
because you're a highly trained individual, a highly trained filmmaker, force to be reckoned with.
That's true. That's true. So any other tips or tidbits or tricks that we can think of for travel, that with gear specifically? Oh yes. You tied your camera bags together to get through the airport. That was a nice
Oh yeah,
one.
because we
He
had
was
a
traveling by himself.
we had a corporate gig in Texas, and she had flown down ahead of me, and then I was left to schlep all the gear myself. So have you ever seen, like, you're walking through the airport and you see the pilots, and they'll have a bag, but then on top of that rolling bag, they'll have another bag sitting on it, and that's like tied to it. I did that with that big green case. I had a large Pelican case, and then my small camera case. And I took, was it carabiner, as we call it?
Hmm.
A carabiner, and then a long strip of like a leather strap, similar to a belt but a lot thinner, and I wove that through all the handles. And then when I would pull one, they would all kind of just like a little train and pull right through the airport. Now I guess I could have, outside the airport they have those carts that you can rent, but I'm cheap and I like to save every little penny I can. So I'm like, if I can do this myself, I'm going to do it myself.
You had to get from the car to fly, like check in, I
Right.
guess.
And I think that particular shoot, I had almost 200 pounds of gear, but there was a lot of extra stuff I don't normally bring, because it was a pretty big job for us. So I wanted all of my toys,
Yes.
all of my lights,
Yeah.
all of my, beam out batteries.
I know this was a lot, and there are. I was going to try to get to some of the stuff, like customs is a thing. I think we talked about like bringing 2 cameras into some countries. Like those are the types of things that you just
Oh.
have to dig in and research and make sure. Like honestly, you have to figure out if it's even worth the headache,
Yeah.
because sometimes it's not.
But make sure you are aware of the work visa
Oh yeah.
restrictions.
I can't believe I almost forgot that.
I'm going to leave that up to you. But yeah, that's if you're going to another country to work. If you're telling them you're there to work, you're probably going to need a work visa. So I know I've talked to some people that say, "Hey, I'm just here on vacation. I'm a photography enthusiast."
We're not condoning that.
I'm not condoning that, but I am a photography enthusiast, and while I'm there, usually almost every No, not almost. Every time we do a destination wedding where it's a real nice destination, we'll take an extra few days just for the two of us. So it's I think the one in Mexico, I told him I would be doing some bird photography and some time lapses, which I 100% did.
Okay, okay, we're gonna wrap this up.
Use
Hey.
use it at your own discretion, but yeah, you just don't want to be stopped at the border, and sometimes they do. It's been a minute, but there's something about they would tax you on your gear
Yeah,
when
these are
you're
the things that we
yeah, when you're going into another country and coming
know.
back or something, they would I'm not going to talk on it because I don't remember it, but there was one time where I think we had to pay taxes of some sort of import tax or something on our camera gear. I
Okay,
vaguely remember that at all,
let
but
me finish this out here.
okay.
We want to create meaningful connections too.
Yes.
That's another thing. Okay, so traveling, it leaves you speechless, then turns you into a storyteller. This guy is a really cool. I didn't know who this guy is, but he basically traveled the world in like the 1300s. But I really love that
How do you
quote.
pronounce his first name,
I
Amber?
don't know. But okay, so here we are. Oh gosh, how do I stop share? There we go. I think that's it. I know that it's a lot. Again, I think we could go on like 2-hour podcasts for every single one of these top subjects, but we try to give you the most pertinent information to start with. So, what's up, Derek? How's it going?
The name is Ibn.
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 Okay. Do you know this guy? You besties?
No, I actually knew an Ibn.
Ibn. You
Okay.
know an Ibn?
I knew it. The person I knew spelled the same way and pronounced it Ibn.
Okay. Okay. You know, sometimes.
Just, it reminds me of the Sublime song, Eben.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Evan.
It's weird the way my brain works. That's how I remembered it. Eben and Ibn.
I like it. I like it.
Leave it up
Derek,
to me. I'm sidetracking us. Look, it's like green room all over again.
it's okay. I like
I
it.
just need to stay muted.
No, not at all.
No.
We live in the ADHD world over here, so we get it. We
I
get
hear
it.
it. I
We
hear
get
it.
But
So what's the, we wrapped this 10-part series.
oh yeah.
Looking outside of just today, what's the big takeaway? If you guys could kind of just boil it into someone who's watching this, trying to get their feet under them in the video world or doing videos in this capacity, what's the big takeaway? If you could leave parting advice.
Just get out there and start shooting. I mean,
Just do it.
uh, how do you become an artist? You create art. Like it may not be like the art that we created 20 years ago isn't the same art that we're creating today. So you just got to get out there and you got to start. You got to just put your feet on the ground and don't worry about having the latest and greatest tech of everything. Just use what you can afford and go for it. I mean, the price point to entry now compared to when we started 20 years ago is so much cheaper to be able to capture a great image, a great piece of cinema is so much easier than it was 20 years ago. So don't go into debt, buy what you can afford, get out there and start shooting.
Yeah, you know what's funny, Garrett? I was having a conversation the other day with somebody, and that was exactly, they're like, you know what? I just did it, and it was a creative venture, very similar to this, and was like, I'll figure it out as I go along. And I'm like, you know what? And it was someone who is just getting started, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, you already have the right mindset because there's so many people, myself one of them. There's like, well, I'll start when I have this, or I need to do this first, or I need this gear, or I need to lay it out. I need to have a whole like 3-year plan already laid out. And it's like, no, just do it. I found that, I often look back at when we first went virtual doing this thing with the event space. We went from in person to a virtual space. And it's like, I look back at the old ones and it's like, it hurts. It hurts my eyes and my soul to see like, wow, that's how we started. But then, you look at where you are and you don't need to come out of the gate ripping and roaring. You can come out of the gate in a beanbag chair using your son's play school desk as a computer desk and then work your way up to the magic. And I think, you know, that's such a great piece of advice to just do it. Don't worry about anything, gear, preparation, knowledge, know-how, anything like that. Just do it. Just get out there. There's so many people that have, you know, content that we love, YouTube channels that we love, photographers that we love, who it's we don't look at the production. If I like the person, they put on something I want to look at, or something I laugh at, or something I'm inspired by. You know, for every person who is like, wow, this, you know, this is like a Scorsese, you know, kind of like, this person has narrative, or this person's really good. Maybe that's not your thing. Maybe your thing is just to be out there and be present. And then you can figure out all the technical stuff later, or find your voice, or find your angle or your brand or whatever later.
Just be real.
There's not enough of that, man. There's not enough.
Because honestly, you know, when we were getting ready to do this 10-part series, I was in the process of designing a set that we were going to use in our studio to do specifically this, and I wanted it to be all cool and professional and lit very cinematically, and look like a successful professional.
You wanted it to look like a spaceship,
Well, I wanted
like a cool spaceship, like in the back.
yeah. But at some point, you know, I was like, you know what? I'm a nerd. Amber's a nerd. There's other nerds out there. Let's just be authentically who we are, and we're nerds. You know, we love Star Wars, and this is who we are. And you know, you can't be all things to all people, and you will, by being yourself, by being authentic, you will find your tribe, and you will find a following. You will find people who are in the same mindset and vibe as you, and that makes for an easier life than trying to be something that you aren't, and trying to be what, you know, we look at these YouTube videos and these people that are very successful on YouTube, and I myself emulate them and I want that perfect lit, perfect symmetrical studio that looks like I am a multi-million-dollar cinematographer. I want that. But at the end of the day, by being yourself, you're going to be a lot nicer to yourself, and the fact that you're not constantly trying to be something you're not. So this is us, you know, we're our toys, and it's just who we are. So we hope you like us for who we are. If not, there's probably another tribe for you, but
Okay.
just be authentic.
Okay.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
it. It's great. I mean, it's so true that it's like, I feel like so many people now, it's like they want to appeal to everybody. And for people who are out there for numbers, or for, I want people to look up to me and this and that, the more numbers you get, guess what? You're not getting everyone who you're going to drive with. And everyone's like, it's not just like, hey, I have 250,000 followers and I love all of them. It's like, no, you probably would hate 90% of them if you ever met them in person, or they wouldn't like you. And it's like, when you're yourself and you find your tribe, it's people who are, you can be yourself, and you're, you know, there's nothing sadder than wasted potential. That's the butchered quote. It's one of the movies. Is it Goodfellas, Bronx Tale? One of those. But you know, this wasted potential, unrealized potential. Or imagine living an entire life where you were just trying to put out stuff that other people like, and you get to a point where you're like, wow, I've lived 3/4 of my life and I never did anything for me, or I never accepted who I am, and I'm just out here trying to please people who really don't care about. They don't care about me either.
That's a lot right there. That's a lot to unpack.
But
Doing what you love, and not trying to be a people pleaser, you will be mentally healthier.
Yeah. And I think to tie it back to this is, especially in the wedding industry, you see a lot of copycatism. You see a lot of people where it's like everybody just wants to do the same thing.
That's what I was gonna say. And whenever you start creating truly to who you are, the right clients will find you. The people who want what you are offering will find you. So if you're just another Sharon ripoff, like, they're not gonna go to you. They're gonna go to the original.
The real
I don't
deal.
want it. I don't want the
Yes.
fake Louis Vuitton. I want the real Louis Vuitton.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a longer road, and it might be a road that is bumpier, but when you get there, you realize, like, wow, it was totally worth every hurdle I had to, you know, either go around, go over, or go through to get here, because you're getting to a place ultimately that you're like, wow, I can go to 7-Eleven in sweatpants at any time of day, and I'm around my people. That was such a horrible analogy. That was like that climbed straight out of like the 90s of like going
Hey,
to get
I'm
a
there.
Slurpee
I'm
at
there
1
with you at
a.m.
7-Eleven.
in
in
my
my
bum
pajamas.
in my bum gear, dropping my son off at school in the jankiest of all outfits. But,
I bet he loves that.
oh yeah, you know, he's now at the age where it's like kids get judged for how their parents dress to drop them off at school.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. You're
well,
gonna
no,
have to step it up.
I know. Well, I want to thank you guys. That was a nice, authentic note to end it on, and I think that's what we love most about you guys is that not only do you guys put out a great product, but you're authentic, you're real, you're who you are, and that resonates. You know, even if somebody isn't a part of the same tribe, it's like real recognizes real, and I think the people that you want to inspire and impact are the people that see people out there doing authentic things. So we thank you for that. We thank, of course, Sony for being a huge supporter of what we do and what you guys do. And this entire thing of just putting education out there. The whole purpose of this is to help everybody learn. It's not for professionals to get on here and talk to other professionals. It's for professionals, amateurs, hobbyists, and everybody across this creative landscape, whether you are a freelancer making 100% of your income from doing this, or somebody who has a 9 to 5 and just gets in gigs where they can, or somebody who just likes taking nice pictures or making a nice video. That's why we do it. That's why you guys do it. I know that at the heart of hearts, and that's what Sony supports. So huge thank you to Sony and the entire team behind me at the event space. Huge thank you to Amber and Garrett for this wonderful 10-part series. It won't be the last we're going to see or hear of them and their collectibles. But until next time, another edition of the B&H Event Space, now in the books. Catch y'all next time.